Students, today we will discuss one of the contraceptive method, and that is in the category of the temporary method. The contraceptive method which we will discuss is IUDs. So let's see what is IUDs. IUD stands for intrauterine devices. And IUCDs, that is intrauterine contraceptive devices. So we have studied that the contraceptive methods can be classified into two categories, temporary method and permanent method. In temporary method, we use those methods which are reversible. And here today we are discussing about IUDs, or we can say IUCDs. So IUD stands for intrauterine devices or intrauterine contraceptive devices. These are the devices which are inserted by the doctors. Just remember, it is inserted by the doctors or expert nurse in the uterus through the vagina. Clear? So it's very important that it is inserted by the doctor or expert nurse in the uterus through the vagina. Now what they do? They causes or they increases phagocytosis of the sperm. Clear? So what they do? They do the phagocytosis of the sperm. Now it can be classified into three categories: non-medicated, copper releasing and hormone releasing. This is very important question, and it comes under the category of 3-mark question that you have to explain the three different types of IUDs. So here you can explain. The first one is the non-medicated, and the example is Lippus loop. Just remember, the non-medicated, it does not release any copper ion or any hormone. Clear? So it is non-medicated, and the example is Lippus loop. Now these non-medicated IUCDs, they are made up of stainless steel. Remember, it is made up of stainless steel or polyethylene. Now the shape is somewhat like a loop. That's why the name is given Lippus loop. And what they do, they increases phagocytosis. Clear? So the first category is non-medicated, which does not release any hormone or copper ions. The example is Lippus loop. They are made up of stainless steel or polyethylene. This is the diagram of a non-medicated IUCDs, and what they do, they increases the phagocytosis. The second category is copper releasing IUDs. The name suggests that these IUDs will release copper ion, and the example is copper T, copper 7 and multi-load 375. So I have drawn here copper T. It's somewhat T-shaped. That's why the name is given copper T. Now the copper ion released from these IUDs. These IUDs will release copper ion, and about 50 microgram per day copper ion is released. Now what they do? They just decreases the sperm motility. First they will decrease the sperm motility, and then they will cause phagocytosis. Clear? They will decrease the sperm motility, and after that phagocytosis of sperm will take place. So this is the function of these copper releasing IUDs. The third one is the hormone releasing IUDs. The name suggests that these IUDs will release the hormone. Example is progesterone and LNG-20. You have to remember the example. It can come in MCQ that LNG-20 is the example of IUD, non-medicated, copper releasing or hormone releasing. So you have to remember that progesterone or LNG-20 is the example of hormone releasing IUDs. Clear? What they do? They releases the hormone progesterone. So here I have drawn a hormone releasing IUD. Now what they do? They make the uterus unsuitable for implantation. First thing, they make the uterus unsuitable for implantation, and also what they do? They produces or they causes the thickening of mucus in the cervix region. As a result, what will happen? There will be problem for this sperm to enter in the uterus due to this mucus plug. So there will be the thickening of the mucus in the cervix region. Now how the whole thing is done, just see here. This hormone releasing IUD is inserted in the uterus and it is loaded with the hormone progesterone. It will produce the hormone progesterone. Now what happened? This hormone inhibit the GnRH secretion. Now this GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, will not stimulate the anterior pituitary. As a result, it will not produce the hormone LH and FSH. This LH and LH is required for ovulation and maintenance of the corpus luteum. And this FSH, it is required for the development of follicle. We all know that GnRH, in the normal case, it will stimulate the anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary will secrete LH and FSH. LH is required for the ovulation and it also required for the maintenance of corpus luteum. FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, it is required for the development of follicle. But what happens when the progesterone level is high? When it will secrete, it will release the progesterone, what will happen? It will inhibit the GnRH to stimulate the anterior pituitary. As a result, what will happen? There will be the thickening of the mucus in the cervix region. Okay, the mucus plug will become thick. The uterus will become or we can say unsuitable for the implantation because the progesterone level is high but the estrogen level is low. As a result, there will be no implantation. Clear? So these are the three types of IUDs which you have to remember.